in actual fact, if we don't upgrade the infrastructure, we won't be able to maintain the lifestyles of Australian citizens and what they desire, with the endless addictions to iPads and iPods and Xboxes and Wiis and incredible stuff that I have in my house with the kids. It's never-ending stuff. But in order to provide the lifestyle of my kids to have all that stuff, we need an infrastructure that's going to be able to support it, so that I can have my air conditioner on at certain periods of time, so we can have the pool pump running so the temperature's just at the perfect point, otherwise it's too cold to go in, Mum. And so the explanation, I think, from that particular industry as to why we're doing something applies to you guys. Goodwill is based on these three things. If they're all impacted, you need to tell a story and bring consumers on the road with you. The question is, when do you do that? And how much do you do that? Some segments don't want to know. Other segments want to know a lot of information. So, I'd like to see more effort from our water corporation to ensure the sustainability of the water supply. The very high levels of the strongly agree, the comfortable status quo is not going to last. So the expectation is already there. You have the opportunity to respond or not. But certainly, from my experience in electricity and gas, I would say respond early, act positively, don't wait. We had a good debate about that in the working sessions with the working group. This was the discussion around the branding of tap water. I mean, I've been talking to Sydney Water recently about this experiment, and they said it's been really interesting. Some of the cafe owners have absolutely embraced it, and they've had people coming in droves over a period of time. They've run a series of campaigns, and whilst the campaign is hot, people have found it amusing and interesting, and now it's kind of gone into kind of business as usual, normal. When I go to the fridge, I'm going to pick up that empty bottle, it's got a tap on it, and I'm going to ask them to fill it, as opposed to buying on whatever it is, Mount Franklin or whatever it is. That's kind of interesting. There are other cafe owners who basically say, oh no, go away, I'm not interested. I think the big test will be what happens next. Does it then go into the supermarkets? Does it then go to the petrol stations? Where beverages are sold and purchased. But I think what's really interesting is, essentially, guys, they have little understanding of what you do. They have little understanding of, what it is, the quality, etc. But they know when it's wrong, and they know when it's bad. And I think the opportunity is that you have the ability to communicate and engage. 82% of consumers said that we have no contact with you apart from getting a bill. That's a really negative kind of moment of truth. It's a really marketing kind of comment, that moment of truth. But it's interesting, in our house, the bill comes in and they're divided into, the post comes in, it's divided into three. There's the personal letters that we open straight away. There's the kind of junk that you just put straight in the bin. And there's the third pile, which is the bills. And if I'm at home, I immediately open them and pay them straight away. My husband's at home and I'm overseas, they just sit there for months and months and months, and they're put in a drawer because he's tidied up before I've come home. And sometimes I'll open the drawer and there's 3 reminders. But with my water company, it's usually a bill. Sometimes there's a community brochure about what we're doing, which I think is fabulous, and I've been collecting those. I've brought some with me today. But I think the experience of having that interaction, even with the provision of information, is more interesting to me than just getting a bill. Now, we can debate whether bill inserts are actually worthwhile or not. But I think actually having that experience of understanding what the water company is doing, what they're doing in my region, in my community, would be very useful for me. And understanding not just the individual household comparison, but the community comparison would be very interesting. Because where I live, that's all we talk about, the supply of water. Is it going to be a hot summer or a cold summer? Are we going to have bushfires or not? So this was the 82%. So now is the time to partner for change. I think the opportunity is, 71% of customers said it was important or very important that their water corporation communicated in a way that was personalised and meaningful. I want you to talk to me about what's happening in my household, what's happening in my community. And there's certainly a global trend across the utilities industry, in gas and electricity, that information is provided 24/7 on any channel, on my mobile phone, on the web at 11 o'clock at night when I want to pay my bill. Or you can see now in the marketplace here in Victoria, you can see Origin and others issuing home energy portals where you've got very, very good visibility of what appliance is using what at what time of the day and what it's costing me. So all the control and the comparison comes back to me. I'm in control of whether we have the Wii on 24 hours a day, I think, maybe. I'm in control of when I decide to put my dishwasher on. I'm in control of when I set the timer on my pool pump. So all of a sudden, that control is back with me as a householder. And that's a very strong need and value that we're seeing rising very quickly. And I think the opportunity is you can collaborate with others, you don't have to do all this yourselves. And certainly I think whether you're talking about a bundle of services around household utilities, or whether you're talking about a bundle of services around community safety or environmental responsibility, there are others that you can learn from. You certainly don't have to build all this capability yourselves. We also asked the question about what level of service and how do you compare against other service providers. Now, this is always interesting. Would you think that phone companies and public transport would have a perception of satisfaction with services? I think the phone companies are changing. Cable companies are a disaster, in my personal experience, but I think the phone companies are beginning to think through how they improve services. But you know, there's an expectation from consumers that actually as all the levels of service rise, I'm expecting that from you as well. So I want it personalised, I want it localised to my community or my household or my particular neighbourhood. And on top of that, I want you to give me the same level of service as I'm getting from my phone company. Now, if you believe the phone company adverts at the moment, they can do everything for you in the home. Everything. And, you know, make the tea and make breakfast for 3 kids. But it's really interesting if you think about that, and if you think and reflect on your own experiences, what's the level of service you're getting from other household services? The expectations are rising all the time. Do you want to get left behind? Do you want to partner with others in order to kind of bundle those services, and therefore that service package is focused on a particular consumer segment that they might pay more for? A premium service. Certainly those people with no time and the ability to be able to afford those services, there's a rising number of those. And the telecommunications companies, they understand that. So an opportunity to partner. And to trust. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you now about the segments. So we, lots of people have very sophisticated segmentation models, and please forgive me if you're in marketing and you've spent the last 5 years working on segmentation. I often have debates with people about how many segments should I need, should they be value-based? To be honest, keep it really simple. Really simple. We did a segmentation model based on this research, based on some conjoint analysis with some of the attributes and the needs and the values. We basically came up with 6 segments. I'm going to describe them all for you and give you a sense, and I'm sure when you reflect on your own businesses, you get a sense of these segments are out there in your consumer base. So, the social consciences, about 24%, the so whats, about 21%, the unconvinced, 20%, and the respectables, 21%. So let me explain each one of these, and then we can highlight some interesting components. So, the respectfuls. These are comments from some of the focus groups and some of the surveys that we did. These are the guys that usually have a higher than average number of older people and retirees. So quite a lot of time, still got their marbles, still got a reasonable amount of funds, higher than average number of homeowners. What they want is, I want direction on how to manage my water use in the future. You know, I want to be seen as a good community member. So you've heard me today talk quite a lot about this group of consumer segments, about 20% of the customer base are these guys. You know, I want to be careful about my water usage. I want to take steps to preserve it, including rainwater tanks. So these are real comments that we got back from consumers. So that's a very strong group, very stable group of consumer segments that you can offer products and services to that are focused very much on their needs and wants. The unconvinced, this gentleman in the middle, you know what, they're very high numbers of homeowners. They all own their own homes, and they're most likely to live outside Melbourne Metro. These guys, actually, I want you to do a better job of giving me quality water at a lower cost. That's what I want. I want to, you know, understand, you know, how to save water, but I'm a bit sceptical about it. And actually I'm a bit sceptical, full stop, about all essential services. And I value the cost reductions rather than additional services or initiatives. Don't break my trust bubble. Just give me what I expect you to do it really well, and do it at a low cost. and then I'm happy. But I'm unconvinced about all this other stuff. The so what's, these guys tend to be younger than average, that makes sense, right? They tend to be younger than average, high levels of education. I want to be informed. You know, it's hard to have a relationship with my water company, but I want to be informed. I'm least likely to want to save water for the good of the community, and I have a lower uptake of rates across water efficient products and techniques, so I don't really care. So what? I'm not really that bothered. So these three segments, do you think they want the same services or different? What do you think? Same or different? Different. Different. How different? Something to think about. How different? So I mean, this guy in the middle, yeah, actually I'm quite happy with the basic level of service, and if I pay on time, reward me, because I just want the water to come out the tap, so I can do whatever with it that I choose. But I want it to be a good level of service. But I don't want all these whistles and bells. You know, I'm not really that interested in additional information on my bill. I just want the water to turn up, I want it to be good quality, and I want it to be low cost. These guys, the respectfuls, actually, I want a whole series of information about what I can do with my time now I'm retired. And I've got one of these in my house at the moment, so send me a big long list. Because he needs a big long list. And the so what's kind of interested, but not really. So these three are very different in terms of the products and services that they would respond to. The next three segments, they're leaving it for later. Guess what? These are the 18 to 24-year-olds, mainly because they haven't left home yet. I've got one of these as well. He's now 25, and I think that's the age, isn't it? Any tips, let me know. So these are the guys that are generally renting, and they're generally quite young, so probably college students, and I'm kind of leaving it for later. I don't need to worry about this now, but I would like to understand the impact of water use on long-term issues, because I've just come out of university and I'm really interested in the environment, and I hold those values very, very dearly. It's kind of nice pretending I was born after 1977. But the water sustainability is not my priority right now, but I'm kind of interested. So when I move on in my life and become a different customer segment, then I'm kind of interested, and then I'll think about it. The second one is the social consequences. I want to know what water they use, how it's sustainably used, and how it's ethically sourced. And I want you to prove it to me. So these are the guys with the big social conscience. I value the environment, the community, and I want to know that you guys care about the long term, and that you care about me and my family. It's a moral obligation for us to manage our water usage. A moral obligation. And I desire to assist the environment. The main reason is to save water, not money. So these guys are generally the kind of middle-aged bracket and higher than average incomes and high levels of home ownership. We had quite a lot of feedback around this, that actually they would be prepared to pay more for a particular service. If you can give me a service that helps me develop a water efficiency plan on my property in rural Victoria, I'm actually quite interested in paying a premium service for that. And then the final ones are what we call the disempowered, and that isn't quite the right word, but this is the kind of 6%. You know, I'm highly disengaged, I've got issues with affordability, I feel ignored, you know, I don't feel like I'm a priority concern, I'm an afterthought, and generally these are females and towards Metro Melbourne. And they're also the lowest income segment. So, services, same or different? Different. So, what's really interesting in this discussion around segments is we said, okay, so let's go back to the very beginning. You've got a level of trust that's built on pillars, you know, safe, reliable, affordable. There are things that are impacting those pillars, changes that are happening. Customer segments and their services and their expectations are generally rising, influenced by telecommunications and airlines and banks and everybody essentially. And the segments have different needs and wants and values. So your opportunity is, do I change what I'm doing today, or do I keep it the same? And frankly, my advice as you kind of think about this and ponder this, is there are things that you absolutely should keep the same to specific customer segments. Get it right, do it exquisitely well, keep the costs affordable. And then there are other products and services that you should frankly test and pilot. And if you're not doing that already, there's a real opportunity here to do that, partnering with others, but really to test that. Because I think the ability to build goodwill before the inevitable changes of whatever happens in our industry, because one thing's for sure, everything changes over time, then you have the ability to reinforce that goodwill.